Chapter 4. The Other Writer. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore. Howard Beale. Network. Jack careened into the Anchor editorial staff coming out of their meeting. Normally, they greeted him with awe and admiration. After all, he was the single reason anyone read their paper. Today, however, many of them avoided his eyes. A few others gave him pitiful glances and whispered to each other. Jack didn't have time to care. He went straight for Deb, who was shuffling papers and notes at the table. "Sorry I'm late." Jack stopped as he spotted Zim sitting in the corner, his red pen flicking across the page of someone's English test. Faculty sponsor. Jack rolled his eyes. Deb put the pages down. "Jack?" She straightened, looking sick to her stomach. "Your slot's been filled." "What?" Jack glared at Zim, who was trying to ignore them. "What's replacing it? The community calendar? There's a new writer named Delilah. She transferred here from Laurel High," Deb said. Jack rushed through his memory. He'd never heard of this chick. "Did our sponsor already proofread her article?" Jack demanded, nodding over at Zim, who looked up to speak but dropped his head back down to his work. Deb sucked in a long breath. "Her piece has already been approved by Thurman." "I knew it." Jack felt a ripple of heat wash through his body. "Where's her article?" Deb didn't look at him, but handed him a page at the top of her stack. "It's been expressed that a female viewpoint is needed to balance the scales of the paper." Jack shook his head as he scanned the headline. "Controlling Boys" by Delilah? What an original title. Delilah what? Is she too cool for a last name? "I don't know. She didn't give me one." Deb stretched a hand toward him. "Before you read that, you should know something. That this is all a bad joke." Jack's heart had begun pumping hard in his ears, like war drums. "Delilah included you in her article." Jack read down the paragraphs. He could already see she'd been allowed twice as many words as him. And there he was. He read aloud. "In observing Ballinger Prep as a female newcomer, I noticed several figureheads of the anti-female movement. Each one plays their part in his own special way. Their actions speak for themselves. Jason Anderson, Matt Simmons, Brandon Carson, and of course, Jack Berlin." Jack broke off, continuing to read with his eyes. Blah, blah, blah. While their problems ultimately stem from Oedipus, they manifest themselves in different ways, whether by using and abusing us or by openly criticizing our sensitive and loving nature. My article, presented each week, will be a study of what makes these boys tick. They will offer to you, the female population of this school, ways to defend, combat, and yes, even use these boys to do thy bidding and turn the tides that have too long decked these halls. End quote. Jack found himself turning in circles. When he glanced up, Deb and Zim shared a concerned expression. Mixed metaphors, and she uses a Christmas reference to close out the article, even though Halloween is right around the corner. And what does she mean by every week? "Jack," Deb tried to speak. "Are you serious? This is totally unsubstantiated, and she invalidates herself in the first line. She's a newcomer. How is she gonna make a list of guys she doesn't even know and then lump me in with all those jackasses?" Deb pointed her pen at him. "You were easy. She just read all of your previous articles. Besides, this is simply an observation piece, and it's going in." "Every week?" "Possibly." "This is crazy," Jack shouted. "Mr. Berlin," Zim said quietly. He had risen from his seat. Jack ignored him. "And I'm getting dropped?" "We don't know anything yet," Deb said, her eyes falling to the table again. "Probably." Jack began to nod. "I guess selling out is part of your training for the big leagues." He immediately wanted to swallow the words so they would disintegrate and cease to exist. Deb exhaled like she'd been punched in the gut, but she made no further reply. "That's enough, Jack," Zim said, throwing his file to his seat with a slap. Jack was about to apologize when his pride paralyzed him. He leered at Zim, whose normally mousy disposition had disappeared to reveal a hidden bravery. "It's time for you to leave, Mr. Berlin." Jack looked down and saw he was still holding Delilah's article. "So this is the way Thurman thinks she can get rid of me. May I borrow this?" Deb gave him no reaction. He folded the article and stuck it in his pocket. "I'm going to bury Delilah," he said quietly. He left, letting the door slam on his way out.